Hello and welcome to your Fantasy Premier League one-stop shop. I'm your host Stephen Gallagher, world number 3 in points totals over the past 3 seasons. Today we're going to be looking at all the key points for Game Week 6, who to buy, who to sell, fixtures to target, wildcard drafts and captaincy. Let's get straight into it, starting with some key points. We're going to go through some injury news quickly. Rodri is out for the rest of the season with an ACL. It's horrible news for him and for Man City because he's absolutely essential to the way that they play. And I do think that this will affect them, especially coming into Champions League when the fixtures start to get more congested and they start piling up. And personally, this puts me off Man City defenders in general. Yes, it could make Rico Lewis more of an option, but there's so many players that can play in that role. You're just going to be playing the Pep roulette. De Bruyne is also injured, but he won't be out for long, according to Pep, and could even be back for the Newcastle game. Mosquera at Wolves has done his ACL and MCL, so he's out for the rest of the season, unfortunately. Saka is fit for this weekend. He's playing midweek. There was some concern as he got subbed at half-time against City, but it was tactical after Trossard's red card. Raya is out with a thigh issue. We don't know for how long, but it's not good news for managers with a 4 million goalkeeper on the bench. Everton have Branthwaite, Mikolenko and Gaia back in training, which is huge for them, especially if Branthwaite is back soon. And finally, João Pedro was seen leaving the stadium on crutches. Physio Scout on Twitter has done an analysis saying he could be out anywhere from 3 to 10 weeks. He's definitely out for Game Week 6 anyways. On to the next key point, which is wildcard time. Is it time for you to wildcard? And that can be answered by the simple question, how many players do you have that you would want on wildcard? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the essential picks in every position, and as I go through, try to keep account of how many of these players you have in your current squad. And if you're already set on wildcarding, then I'd suggest selecting players from this shortlist from your team. If you've got players not on the list, then I'd reconsider, as I tried to put almost every viable option on the shortlist. Now, I didn't cover absolutely everyone, so if you pick someone and you like them, leave a comment and I'll review the pick down in the comments. For goalkeepers, the essential picks, in my opinion, are Sells, Sanchez and Flecken. For defenders, a combination of these defenders is what I would go for on wildcard this week. We've got Trent, Gabriel, Saliba, Porro, Konate, Robbo, Robinson, Mazraoui, Aina, Mikolenko, Vandenberg and Greaves. For midfielders, I'd go for a combination of these players: Salah, Palmer, Saka, Son, Bruno, Diaz, Bowen, Mbumo, Smith Rowe, Semenyo, McNeil, Rogers, Carvalho and Dibbling. And finally for forwards, I like the look of these lads on wildcard. Haaland, of course, Watkins, Havertz, Jackson, Solanke, Wood, Raul Jimenez and Calvert-Lewin. Now, like I said, I haven't selected absolutely everyone, and I have rattled off a lot of names there, so hopefully that's enough for you guys to build your wildcard draft off. But if you think that I left a few names off, maybe you like Madison, he's another pick that I wanted to squeeze in here, but I just wanted to pick a few players from each price point. Leave a comment down below if you see a player missing. Leave a comment down below if you have a player in your team that you see is missing here. Now, there's not a definitive number that I can give you to say, if you have 8 of these players, then you don't need to wildcard. If you have 7, you absolutely have to wildcard. It's obviously going to depend on the players that you do have, who they are, and who you have in the rest of your team. But in general, I would say if you only have, let's say, 5 of these players on the shortlist, I'd be looking to wildcard. If you only have, let's say, 7 or 8 of these players, I'd be considering a wildcard based off who those players are. Other than that, I think you will likely be able to manage your team through free transfers and hold on to your wildcard for a later date, because in my opinion, the Game Week 12 wildcard looks very solid based off the fixture swings, and it's what I'm going to be looking forward to do for my team. Next up is my wildcard draft for this game week. If I was wildcarding, this is what I'd go for. We've got Sells in nets. For me, 4.5 million goalkeepers don't get much better value than Sells. Forest have great underlying data defensively, just like they did last season, but this season they're keeping clean sheets in games where they might have let in a goal or 2 last season. So I would go for Sells in nets, and I've got Bentley as the 4 million goalie who won't play. In defense, I've gone Gabriel, Robinson, Trent, Greaves and Vandenberg. Investing heavily in the attack, as you can see, with these 2 4.0 million defenders on the bench. Now, they'll only be used in the case of an injury, and both have good upcoming fixtures. So in the case of an injury or a random substitution, you'd have one of these 2 coming in. In midfield, we've gone Diaz, Mbumo, Saka, Rogers and Semenyo. Diaz has been incredible this season, and I still feel he's a bit risky for minutes, but he's thriving under Arne Slot's system, and he's a very explosive pick with the potential for huge hauls. The rest of the midfield here almost picks itself for me. Saka has to be in there with his consistency, and Arsenal's upcoming fixtures are too good to ignore. Mbeumo is the talisman for the team with the best upcoming fixtures from an attacking perspective, and Rodgers and Semenyo are just great value picks for their price points. Based off their underlying data and expected goal involvement, I've got them in my team. Up front, we've got Wood, Haaland and Watkins, which is actually my forward line currently. I've seen a lot of drafts without Watkins, which is surprising to me. He's one of the first names on the wildcard for me. I think Haaland has to be in there because he started the season incredibly and he's Haaland. And Wood I like in that third forward slot, but he could become Calvert-Lewin, Raul Jimenez. If you wanted to squeeze in Jackson or Solanke into this team, you could downgrade Watkins or upgrade Wood and take the money out of the defense, maybe downgrading Trent. But overall, I like the look of this team, and I haven't personally found another draft that I like better. Next up is defenses to target, using the fixture difficulty ratings from FPL optimized. These are the defensive fixture ratings ranking the easiest upcoming fixtures for defenders. Everton and Brentford ranking top, two teams that have underperformed defensively so far. But if you like the look of those fixtures and you want a slice of that pie, I'd go for Mikolenko or Vandenberg. Nottingham Forest also ranking highly. I like the look of Sells and Aina, like I've mentioned. Sells the best value goalkeeper in the game in my opinion, and Aina the most attacking defender in that Nottingham Forest team. I'll go through the next few teams quickly. West Ham have been poor defensively and don't have any standout options who are cheap enough to consider currently. Greaves at Ipswich is a good budget option, and Mazraoui at Man United, also another interesting pick. He's been good going forward. Man City defenders, they're great and the fixtures look good, but playing Pep Roulette is a dangerous game and it's so hard to predict who will play week in, week out. Rico Lewis and Gvardiol are the best picks from an FPL perspective when they get the minutes, and that's the main issue. At Spurs, Porro is the best pick defensively. I've been keeping an eye on Udogie, but he's not been getting forward as much as he did last season, and his data backs that up too with really low expected goal involvement. So Porro is the best route into that Spurs defense, it's clear to see. Arsenal is ranked 10th here, and it's always good to remember that it's not always about the fixtures. A solid defense is a solid defense. Even if Arsenal had terrible fixtures, I'd still want one or even two Arsenal defenders in my team because they can just grind a result out against anyone. They're the best defense in the league. And when you see that they play two promoted sides in Leicester and Southampton at home in the next 2 game weeks, you've got to find a way for an Arsenal defender or two into your team. Gabriel would be top on my list just because of his attacking threat, and if you want another defender, then one of Raya or Saliba are the best options. Obviously Raya is out this game week with an injury, so I'd wait to get him in until we know when he's back. Next up is attacks to target, and Brentford have great upcoming fixtures from an attacking perspective. I'd look no further than Mbeumo. He's their most prolific forward, he's on penalties, and he's in great form so far this season. Carvalho is also an interesting differential. It seems he's Wissa's replacement up top while Wissa is out injured, and it's pretty hard to ignore a 4.8 million midfielder playing in that Brentford forward line. Everton also have great upcoming fixtures. McNeil and Calvert-Lewin seem to be the main men for Everton going forward this season. They're unlikely to get massive hauls, but you'd expect them to tick over with a few returns in this nice fixture run. Man City have some really good attacking fixtures coming up. Erling Haaland, he's a joke this season. If you don't have him, then get him in. That's my expert analysis for you. And then with De Bruyne potentially out, these two lads could be very spicy picks, and that's Gundogan and Foden. Again, it's hard to say who plays when and where, but I must say that Gundogan looked very threatening against Inter Milan in the Champions League, and we know what Foden can do. If he can find that form that he had last season, then that 9.3 million price could become a joke. West Ham also have good upcoming fixtures. Bowen is a solid pick from them, and other than that, it's hard to say where the goals will be coming from. Spurs attackers to consider for this fixture run would be Solanke, Son and Maddison. Maddison is really interesting now that he ranks second highest in the league for expected goal involvement, just after Haaland. He could be a great differential under, I think, 5% owned currently. if that Spurs attack clicks, then you'd imagine Maddison will be at the heart of it based off what we've seen from them so far this season. Son seems to be a bit isolated on the wing this season. That's just how Ange likes his wingers to play. I don't think he offers amazing value at 10 million, but he's Heung-min Son. He can come up with a huge haul at any point. And then there's Solanke. He's finally got his first goal for Spurs. If he can continue getting on the end of chances, then he's another great pick at his price point. Next up is captaincy, and you can see Saka and Salah are top of the predicted points according to Check the Chance. Now, I wouldn't disagree heavily with them here. I have a different idea of who's going to be the highest scoring player this game week. I think between Saka and Salah, it's definitely a 50-50. If you have both, then you definitely have a decision to make if you wanted to captain one or the other. You can see Palmer ranks third here, which I disagree with massively. I wouldn't captain Palmer against Brighton. I think we have an idea of Brighton's defence based off when they were under De Zerbi. Very attacking and very leaky defensively, but under Hurtzler, they're a much improved defence. I wouldn't really be looking to captain anyone against Brighton so far based off what we've seen this season. Brighton are currently ranked 5th for expected goals conceded. I wouldn't really looking to be captaining anyone against them at the moment. Haaland ranks 4th here, and one that I'm really surprised is low down is Mbeumo against West Ham, who have the highest expected goals conceded in the league so far. Let's move on to my personal ranking for captaincy. And first, I have Haaland because he's just inevitable, and I can well and truly see him tearing up any defence in the league this season, and that doesn't exclude Newcastle. He's my first pick for captaincy. Now, Saka is a close second, as well as Salah. For me, between Saka and Salah, that Leicester fixture being at home just edges it for me in Saka's favour, but I still think Salah is a great pick. Those are my top 3 captaincy options. In 4th, I have Mbeumo against the leaky West Ham defence, and in 5th, I have Diaz against Wolves away. If he starts, then I'd expect him to have another good game. On to my Game Week 5 review, and finally a big game week for me. 86 points and a Game Week rank of 176,000, shooting up from 1.8 million to 550,000 overall. Very, very happy with that. I captained Son, going against the grain there, and he ended up being my highest scoring player alongside Rodgers. Only real downside this week was Jota not playing, and Semenyo came off the bench to replace him, and he also had a goal ruled offside, which could have been an even bigger week, but I'm happy with the performance. Let's look at my Game Week 6 plans. Using my own advice, I look at this team and I think, do I need a wild card? Well, I have Gabriel and Robinson from my wildcard shortlist. Konsa isn't a bad option going forward either. Jota is an issue, but the rest of my midfield is really solid with Son, Saka, Rodgers and Semenyo. They're all on my wildcard shortlist. And my forward line I'm very happy with. Wood, Haaland and Watkins, again, all on my wildcard shortlist. So I'm not considering a wildcard, and what I am looking at is getting rid of Jota and getting Mbeumo in. I'm recording this as the Liverpool game is on, and I've just seen that Jota has scored. But this doesn't change my mind at all. I think the fact that he's playing actually backs up my decision, because I think his minutes will continue to be limited. Even when he plays, he only gets 60 to 70 minutes or so. So Mbeumo in for Jota feels like a great move. Mbeumo, he's got the form, he's got the fixtures. Get this man into my team. Other than that, I've captained Saka. It's going to be between him and Haaland. I think I might just go for Saka to go against the grain slightly. I like to do that every now and then when it's a 50-50. And I have a bit of a benching headache here with Rodgers against Ipswich away, first on the bench, but this is how I'm lined up for now. That's all for today, folks. Drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more and check me out on Twitter to see my team updates throughout the week. Until next time, guys, have a good one.